And now, it's time for Herman and Sharron.
Oh, I love you. I love you. See, she put her hand out just the wrong time, and I just knocked her notes completely away.
Anyway, we'll let it go at that.
Okay.
We could get into it this morning, but we won't.
I know. Sometimes, after 54 years together, she would like to take me out in the woodshed and just shoot me.
No.
No?
What are you saying? Hi, everybody. This is kind of a funny way to start a program here.
Did I tell him I loved him? I don't even think I gave him my love.
No, you were kickboxing and knocked my thing right off there.
No, actually, my hand was going crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Annette now knows how crazy she can get because it's hard to keep up with me.
Nobody knows who Annette is, but I'm going to introduce her right now.
Do that for me.
We have Annette Delisle with us. She's founder of International Wellness Incorporated, a business which helps her to pursue her passion of helping others to overcome their challenges, to live their lives to the fullest.
And she has figured
That's what
it
I
out.
need.
In Christ.
She has a doctorate in naturopathy and a certification as a personal trainer. That's why she looks so trim and
Annette,
a lifestyle
can you train a guy at
fitness
74? Is it too late? Oh, okay, just checking.
She also, we're still going on with all these things. She also has a Bachelor of Arts in Christian Ministries, and we're going to meet her right now.
Right here. She's actually physically here.
Yes, she is.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
What a blessing.
Hi, Annette.
Hi.
You've done so many things.
Yes.
Did you want to do this? Was this your life goal?
Not really. It was, you just kind of take one step at a time, and the Lord just kind of leads you here, leads you there, and especially with the doctorate, when the Lord told me that He wanted me to become a doctor, I said, "Are you serious? Are you kidding?" Because I was thinking, I don't want to go back to school. I was already through, already had my degree.
You're very
like,
young,
really?
right? You're very young.
Depends on what very young.
You look very young, so we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll just leave it there.
Just, he's on the camera. He tries to protect me.
Right.
Apart from her, she has to do this all the time.
24 hours.
Yeah. So continue.
Well,
Your
just
doctorate.
one step at a time. I just was really shocked when He wanted me to go down that road, and you think of a prestigious doctor, and I was like, really?
Dr. Annette.
Yeah, well.
Sounds good.
It does, but really, it's just one of those things where it puts something behind your name, and people think that you're smart, and you just really are depending on God to help you get through it and lead you through it. So
now, I love
it's a good thing.
I mean, it's very interesting, the title of your book.
It is.
Yes.
Buried Alive and Survived.
Pretty cover, too. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is nice. That is really nice.
It took 125 jumps to get that picture.
Is that you jumping?
It is, yeah. I got to work out.
That is really...
125?
That is impressive.
Takes. Yeah.
But they can do so much with today, with technology, that you don't even have to be... I can be sitting here and they can make me look like I just climbed Mount Everest.
They can, yes.
It's amazing.
Yes,
Now, you're very athletic, right?
Yes.
I mean, kickboxing, I would not want to mess with you because you could hurt me real bad.
I wouldn't want to.
But you've trained how to do that, haven't you?
I've done, kickboxing is really kind of my exercise technique. I love kicking and punching.
Do you kick that bag? I mean, like...
No.
You don't?
I just kick the air at this point. Sometimes use weights to
See, I'm an
do a little
MMA guy. I love, have you seen those? You have in the cages where they get in the cage?
No.
And they fight until the guy's dead.
Oh.
And then the winner walks out.
Oh,
No,
stop.
Not really.
That's rough.
Not really. But I mean, it's great because they are really physically in such condition that, I mean, you shouldn't envy, but you envy how their bodies are put together.
Yes.
So you
Annette, tell me, were you raised in a Christian home? How did you come to know the Lord? Kind of tell me about your life. I'd like to get to know you.
I was raised in a Christian home. I was one of those kids that was kind of like the pastor's kids. I was there every time the doors were open.
Ooh.
Always in church, at summer camps.
Goody two-shoes.
It's funny you should mention that because a lot of people said that, and I just really had a strong sense of conviction of right and wrong.
Yes.
And just a gift, I guess. But yeah, I was growing up in church and spent time at summer camp.
That's great.
I came to know the Lord at 9 and
Same age I was.
Were you?
Exactly,
Oh, great.
yes.
I rededicated my life at 14, and I think when I was 14, I really got the sense of,
Right.
okay, my life is not my own
Right.
anymore. So
Exactly.
Let's go through some points. Your book is very well written, by the way.
Thank you.
It's easy writing, and then you can even. I like books like this because after you read, so many times you forget what you just read on that chapter.
Exactly.
And you have, reflections.
Yes.
And you can
Yes.
read and then write down how you responded to that.
My biggest purpose in that was I noticed that I read a lot of self-help books in my journey, and for those who don't know, I was not literally buried alive,
Yes.
but emotionally I was under so much depression and darkness and helplessness and suicidal thoughts and all of those things.
Even Miss Goody Two Shoes.
Yeah.
Because you say
Even-
we have a choice in how we respond to what life throws at us.
we do.
So how did you make your choice?
Well, I didn't always make the right choice. I made a lot of wrong choices, which then again affirmed what the right choices were. But I had to fall down and get back up and come to understand that failure is when you fall down and you stay down.
Yeah.
But failing is when you fall down and you get back up. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall down, it matters how many times you get back up. So not assessing, even though I'd make mistakes and that I would fall down, and I had a very perfectionistic mentality, had to be perfect. I was very works oriented. My parents tell me they didn't have to spank me very much as a child because I was just always trying to do the right thing. My brother would say I needed to be spanked more, but my parents,
At least he wanted to, right?
Yeah, right. My parents didn't have to discipline me that often because I was always really trying to be good, but it was more of a works trying to be perfect and not understanding God's grace and understanding that we all make mistakes, and if we're making mistakes, that means we're growing.
How did you start kind of going off the track then, if you were that?
When I went to college, there was nobody around to make me go to church.
How many times have we heard that one?
Right. Nobody around to say I needed to be at church and to tell me where to be. And when I got in college, I really had to decipher my relationship with Jesus on my own.
Was it a Christian college or?
It was.
Okay.
It was a Quaker college.
Oh, okay.
So
wow.
not Christian, but Quaker college.
Did they quake?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
But
See,
they're usually quite strict.
They got that name.
They are.
They
Yeah.
got that
They
name
are.
because they
That's
said back in the old days they used to quake. They
Yeah, really?
shake like an earthquake. Yeah. When the
That
power of God
works.
came on them.
That would work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you
So that
learn?
happens to a lot of our young people, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does when you lose accountability. And I went to a school that was in another state, so I didn't have a circle of
What
friends.
state?
In Oregon.
Ooh, nice state.
Yes, pretty.
Yes.
Rains a lot, but
Yeah.
pretty. And I got out of my comfort zone, out away from, comfort of home
Did you meet
and
some wild
friends.
people?
Not necessarily. It was, for me, it was what they call, there's a song that says a slow fade, where it was just
Yes.
one choice by one choice by one choice.
So
and
your relationship with the Lord was getting further and further away.
Yep. And I was getting further and further off the beaten
What brought you back?
path. Well, it wasn't really until after I got married and then divorced. When I got married, I really was unequally yoked, let's just put it in that place, and was very deceived. And even with my upbringing, even on the day of, just knew it was not the right thing,
Boy,
but
that has to be
proceeded
scary.
it. Oh gosh, yes. But I was such a people pleaser that I was standing in the back
You couldn't
Listen, I wanna hear it.
disappoint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't disappoint, and
You were
I thought
standing in the back
I
and
was
it-
standing in the back with my dad, and I thought I shouldn't be doing this. This is not right.
Wow.
And my very next thought was, everybody's already here. They've already purchased gifts. I don't want to.
Don't ever do that.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
how many
Tell
people do?
Tell some girl right there that's about to do that.
Yeah. If you're any of those that are single or young or
They
in a
got their
relationship,
wedding plan and they know it
yep,
shouldn't be.
Don't ignore the red flags.
Yeah.
Those red flags the Holy Spirit was trying to tell me, and you'll find this funny. It's funny now, but the week before I was to get married, somebody tried to burn the church down. And so we had to relocate the entire wedding because it was all full of dust and soot and fire. And, you know, it's like if anybody was supposed to obey a sign, I should have figured that out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have
But
a
I missed
granddaughter that 1 month before, about 3 weeks before she's supposed to get married,
Be careful
realized.
because somebody might be watching today.
yeah, realized that it probably was not the right
Well,
decision
good
to
for
make.
her.
But it was a hard thing because the dresses are all bought, the
Yes.
money's been spent.
And,
You're
yes.
right.
The
And
invitations
it's
have gone
not
out.
worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it because it's your life and it's
Yes.
your calling and your anointing and your ministry, and everything gets thrown away or thrown off, and it's a tough process to get back
Sure.
on the right path.
Very hard.
So you went through a divorce.
I did.
What did that do to you?
Yes. Well, it was my decision. I stayed about 8 years, even though the day of I knew it was
Do you have
wrong.
children?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't. I stayed for about 8 years, and basically, can ask my family, I pretty much turned into a different person. I was in what I call survival mode, and I was hateful and bitter and angry, and I have the best family in the world, but they didn't even like being around me because I was just not myself. Very hurtful, suicidal thoughts, and my family reads this book, and people read this book, they're like, I had no idea. I'm like, no one did, because I was such an introvert,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to make him look bad or talk bad about him, or
yeah.
really pride didn't want me to say, hey, I made a mistake, and have to live up to and own the mistake.
So you qualify to write this.
Yeah,
Because what I've read
guess
here,
so.
you qualify. Because I always want to know somebody, if they're going to help me,
Yes.
have you been where I am?
Yes,
And when
yes,
they say, yes, I
yes.
have, times 2, I
Right.
go, okay, help me.
Right, and if they've made it out, you know it's possible.
Yes.
You know, if they've
Yeah.
come out of the darkness and they find a way out. If you're in a fire,
Yeah.
you want somebody to lead you
Yeah.
out who knows where
yes,
the door
they
is.
know where the door is.
And not
So
wander.
when did the miracle start?
When did what?
When did you start being led out of this depression that you were in?
Well,
Was it a slow process or just
it was
day to day?
it was slow, kind of the slow fade. I kind of went in slow and kind of came out slow. It was layers. Healing always comes in layers.
That's right.
It's, you know, some
right.
people can get an immediate one, you know, stop smoking or delivered from alcohol, you know, deliverance. But I have found with emotional healing, it comes in layers.
Yes.
And the layers come as far as you're willing to let God take you.
There you go. The choice.
That's the surrender. That's the choice. When I moved here to Florida, I moved for a internship program that was 9 months long. And God told me to move to Florida, and I said no, and he kept telling me, and I said no. I said, I don't want to move from my family. My family's from California, so I got the farthest away I could. So that was my fresh start, and I've been here almost 8 years.
Good for
and
you.
in that time, God has done a lot of healing, a lot of restoring, and
I
just
see your hand. Oh, you haven't got a wedding band on, do you?
no,
Okay, just checking.
nope,
Now,
not
8,
yet.
let's go into the book. 8 elements you point out before our foundation in life takes place. So 8 elements. And let's just go through them.
Okay.
Because, and obviously the book has details about what she's going to discuss right now. So you can go into the entire, and then at the end, as I say, the chapter, you can go back and find out, okay, did I read this right? What is my answer on this particular bit? Great. Number 1, core beliefs, how we perceive ourselves. Now, just give me a synopsis on that one.
It has to not only do with what you believe about God, but what you believe about yourself. What do you say about yourself? And a lot of times you can, if you'll just listen to your own self-talk, and you say things like, oh, I screwed that up.
Yeah.
Or, man, I'm such a klutz. Or, and you're constantly speaking negative things about yourself. You know, the Bible says that we speak and our words have power of life and death. Well, we speak them, and those words we hear, and so then we process. So if you're speaking negativity, you're hearing negativity, and then the negativity seed is building within you.
And use number 2, that's number 1. Number 2, attitude. A good attitude, good things will happen. So then obviously you've gone through the bad attitude. You just talked about it, where the parents didn't even want to be around you. It's like, who is this girl? So how does that change?
Trying to find something to be grateful for. There have been times where I literally, the only thing that I could find to be grateful for was the breath in my body, the clothes on my back, that God woke me up. Because everything else was in such misery and such darkness and such hopelessness that I had to focus on things that I did have instead of things that I didn't. And change my attitude in, okay, let's start being grateful.
It's obvious you wanted to
Yes.
get out of this.
Oh yes, I knew God had better. I knew God had better. And that was part of the frustration. It's how to get myself here when I know God wanted me over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Number 3, love. When you experienced unconditional love.
Yes.
Explain that.
I remember a time God had put a mentor into my life, and but here in Florida, and that's when I went into her office, and that's where I thought, you know what? If I can't get real with myself and can't get real with somebody else, then this healing isn't going to start. And I went into her office and I unloaded everything, all my skeletons, all the things I had messed up on.
So you trusted that person?
I did. And I felt like I was going in thinking that I would go away feeling condemned and shamed and like I had always felt. And I actually walked out of there feeling light and joyful. And I remember walking to the elevator going, so this is what it's supposed to be like.
Goodness.
Where you can just be yourself and it's okay. You don't have to have people condemning you and picking on you and telling you you're worthless and all of these negative things. You can actually have people that come into your life that will love you even though you have all of these idiosyncrasies and things that maybe are not so pleasant, because we all have them.
So have you strived to be a person, when you're hearing from other people, to be that kind of individual where they can walk out of your presence and feel, wow?
I do. I want them to feel the same. I feel like one of the things God has gifted me with is a grace. Almost, I don't know if you can have too much grace, but almost to the point where I could look past what people did. And the downside of that was always believing the best in somebody, even when they're hurting you. And when you really need to sever relationships and friendships and you need to cut negativity out of your life. But I always believed the best in people and the best about people and figured they would turn over a leaf or they would come back or they would be better. And that, I know that's a gift. I know that God gives me that
And you
gift.
know, it usually comes from people that have walked that road. Because you go, you know, I'm going to try one more time because I've been there.
Right.
And somebody has tried one more time with me.
Exactly.
You talk about atmosphere. You have that inside peace, and you talk about it, it's internal peace. And just like the Word of God talks about peace in the midst of a storm, that's what you had to experience.
Oh, yes.
How did that come?
Well, it came from a grateful heart and just being grateful for the things that I did have. In the natural, I had to constantly play instrumental music, Christian music that put me in a place of peace, rather than in an angry, bitter, hateful stage. Had to just really focus on the good parts
It's
about
amazing
life.
how music does that, because
I love it.
Saul,
Yes.
remember David would come and play the harp.
Yes.
And I'm sure Saul was at that point where he'd like to tear everybody's head off.
Yes.
And David's playing that soft, like you're talking about, and it just brings you to a peace that you didn't have.
It's very therapeutic when you get the right kind.
Number 5, nutrition.
Yes.
Now you look like a very nutrition-minded individual.
You know, I am now.
Are you?
I am now.
Are you a vegan?
No.
Okay.
No. I grew up in a family that loved sweets. We didn't just have a sweet tooth, we had sweet teeth, all of them. Yes, and loved carbs and loved all that stuff. And because I was an athlete, I worked out enough, so I was able to, you know, stay fit. But I didn't know that I was missing out on energy and mentally being clear.
Isn't it amazing?
Hearing
People
clearly.
don't look at nutrition as being what you just said.
right.
No, they don't. They have no idea. They have no idea. And sometimes you don't know you're feeling bad until you start to feel better,
Yeah.
and you think, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I didn't know I was feeling bad.
That's right.
Until you start changing your diet and exercise.
I fast 1 day a week for the
Great.
last 5 years, and people say, don't you get? I mean, a week? Or I go, that's the day I feel the best.
Yes, yes. I honestly, if I didn't have to eat ever again, I would save so much time, and I would feel great. I would have no problem.
Yeah, that's what she talks about me, and I go, yeah. To me, food is very overrated,
Yes, yes.
and there's so many more things.
Right, right.
But family and everybody, it's like when you go on vacation. When are we going to stop to eat? It's getting, and then about
You
3 in
guys
the
are in
afternoon,
the minority,
When,
you
when
know
are we going to
that,
get a
don't you?
snack?
Right.
Okay, what time are
Really
we
in
going to
the
eat tonight? What are you
minority.
guys going to? I mean, it's like, don't we have any other subject but food?
It's also social.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
most of the time, hey, let's go to lunch, or hey, let's go to
Yeah.
dinner. Let's
It's
go
always
grab
it's always
coffee.
around food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 6, character, tied to our core belief system.
Yes.
How
it
did
is.
how did you reach down and pull that character back up again?
It was really the grace of God. I mean, He surrounded me with people that gave me that unconditional love. It gave me a great group of friends, a great support system, and it helped that I had a strong conviction of right and wrong, and I just had to find that again. And I think these days, a lot of character and integrity is lost. How many times do we say, hey, let's go grab coffee to somebody at work, and we never call them back, and we never go? Or, hey, I'll call you later. They never do. You know, being a person that does what they say they're going to do.
Yes.
If you say, I'll call you next week, you call them next week. You actually do what you say, and we're losing that in this generation. They're just flighty and whatever, and I'll call you. Never do.
Yeah.
You know,
Or if
having character.
Or if you mention it or whatever, they go, you didn't think I really meant that, did you?
Right. Right.
Yeah, I
Right.
thought that you meant that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 7, exercise relieves stress, and you say cleanses the toxins,
Yes.
gives you a balance.
When we sweat, we actually sweat toxicity.
Boy, do I sweat, because I jog. Ooh, do I
That's
sweat.
good.
Especially
Yes.
now.
Right?
Yeah.
Sweating toxicity
Yeah.
out of your system, and when you exercise, you release endorphins,
Yeah.
which are also called happy hormones.
Really?
So yeah. Have you ever been like you're a jogger, so you get that runner's high?
I got to tell you what happened to me years ago. I was suicidal.
Uh-huh.
And so I heard about a guy exploding his heart by running so hard. So it actually happened. So I
Wow.
thought, okay, I'm going to take off and I'm going to run for 10 miles and just explode my heart. I came out of depression.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
The
true.
running, and to
It
this day I
does.
run, the running cleared my head.
It does. Yes. It does. And people have such a hard time, and I myself have a hard time getting into that discipline of continuing to do it. But once I get there, I think to myself, gosh, why isn't this more easy to do? Because you feel so good while you're doing it, and when you're done, you just feel great.
Yeah, and you have to make yourself.
Yes.
Because when I get home from a day of all of this,
Especially now with the 90 degrees.
Yeah, and I go, okay, don't wait. Change into your shorts and get out that door.
Don't sit down.
Yeah, once you get out the door, you can pull it off.
Yes. Yes.
But if my dear wife says, honey, you don't need you did yesterday, you don't need to today, then all of a sudden it gets in my head and I go, oh, that is right. I mean, I did it yesterday.
We can justify anything.
I can, yeah, oh yeah. So, but anyway, I'm not blaming you for anything.
It sounds like it to me.
No, I'm not really. Number 8. Now, all of these are in detail, and you need it. I mean, dependence on God. How did you get to that point? Number 8.
When I got to the point where I was really honest with myself and my mistakes and my frailties, and realizing that anything good that comes out of me is because it's the God on the inside of me that's doing good and wanting to be good and wanting to help others. And realizing that without my dependence on Him, it would be very easy to sway and to get back into that place. that nobody wants to be.
That's right.
How do you have a whole article on identifying stressors.
Yes.
And you talk about stress will lower your immune system and make you susceptible. Now, you haven't been sick for a long time, right?
Long time.
Because
I think it's 4 or 5 years since I've been to the
because
doctor.
you have learned to deal with stress. How?
Well, the body doesn't recognize the difference between good stress and bad stress. So when you're working out, the body is stressed, but it's a good stress.
Yeah.
When you're going through a traumatic event emotionally, or kids are going crazy or whatever, that's bad stress. But anytime your body goes into stress, you've heard the fight or flight syndrome. It's like, okay, either I'm going to get away from this, or I'm going to just sit here and fight this.
Yeah.
Part of chapter 2, and one of the things that I love, and the reason I put it as a workbook, is the actual chapters are great, but the journey really lies in the questions, because that's when you have to look into yourself and get with God on occasion and say, okay, you made me, help me to figure me out.
I read one of your questions, which I won't have time to go into, and in reading it, I'm going, okay, I'm reading this, I got to answer this. And it took me the longest time to come up with an answer. It's amazing.
Well, the second chapter, people say, gosh, there's so many questions on that chapter.
Yeah.
Well, it's called Get the 411, which dates me, because whenever I wanted to get a phone number, you dial 411, get the phone number.
Yeah.
Not today. But basically the whole chapter is, let's learn about you. We're all different. We all have different unique talents and gifts. God gave us those gifts. I like the analogy of a puzzle. Your puzzle piece only fits in one spot if it's going to make the picture to be perfect. So every gift and talent that each person has is uniquely fit into the puzzle that God has for this world and life and universe and everything else. So you can't focus on being what somebody else wants you to be. You have to be what you have to be, so that you can be your piece to fit where you're supposed to. And when you learn how to fit in that place, it makes things to be easier, to be less stressful.
Yeah.
For example, I had somebody offer for me to sell coffee machines. And I prayed about it, and I needed the money at the time, and I needed a job, and it looked all great and good. But the powdered product that was inside of the hot chocolate and the different things that this machine did had hydrogenated oils. So on the one hand, I'm a personal trainer and telling people to stay away from these things. And on another hand, I'm selling machines that have this stuff in it.
That's inconsistent.
It's double-minded.
I wish I had you on for another hour. Jesus Christ is the answer for every need you may have in your life. Trust Him. God bless you. Bye-bye.